What is the current state of the war between Ukraine and Russia? A question that many of us are asking ourselves. In today's video, we will delve into this topic and provide an overview of the major events that have taken place. Let's begin by acknowledging the fog of war that surrounds the conflict. The uncertainties are many, but one of the most significant is the question of who is Russia's top field commander in Ukraine. The lack of clarity has resulted in disorganization and clumsiness within the Russian assault. Communication issues and a high rate of casualties among Russian officers have hindered their efforts, slowing down the invasion's momentum. The disarray within the Russian ranks is not the only factor stalling the invasion. Tactical errors have played a role too. From the outside looking in, it appears that Russia lacks experience in managing large-scale operations. This inexperience, coupled with Putin's penchant for secrecy and planning, has compounded the challenges faced by the Russian military. But we cannot talk about the current state of the war without mentioning the fierce resistance put up by the Ukrainians. Despite being outgunned and outnumbered, the Ukrainian forces have managed to hold their ground, turning the invasion into a protracted conflict. Their resilience and determination have not only impeded the Russian advance, but also inspired other nations to provide support. Furthermore, the challenges in resupplying troops and allocating resources highlight the need for a central commander. Without a clear chain of command, the Russian forces struggle to maintain momentum, giving the Ukrainians an opportunity to regroup and fortify their defenses. In the midst of this chaos, it's clear that the war is far from over, with both sides digging in for what looks like a long and grueling conflict. The uncertainties are many, and the outcomes unpredictable, but one thing is certain: the effects of this war will be felt far beyond the borders of Ukraine and Russia. With this context in mind, we can now move on to explore the timeline of major events in the war. Understanding the progression of the war requires a look back at the key milestones that have shaped the conflict. Our story begins with Russia's invasion of Ukraine, a bold move that sent shockwaves across the global community. This was a turning point that abruptly shifted the dynamics of power in Eastern Europe, marking the beginning of a conflict that would have far-reaching implications. In the months following the invasion, the war saw a series of significant events and turning points. Among these was Russia's involvement in Syria. This move was met with international criticism and further complicated the conflict in Ukraine, as it diverted global attention and resources away from the ongoing war. It also led to a shift in alliances and relationships among world powers, creating a ripple effect that continues to shape the conflict today. Another pivotal event was Ukraine's request for military aid. In a bid to resist Russia's advances, Ukraine turned to other nations for support, sparking a debate on the international stage. This move not only highlighted the severity of the situation but also put pressure on other countries to take a stand, leading to a greater involvement of international powers in the conflict. As the war progressed, the dynamics of the conflict evolved. Russia's initial momentum was hindered by several factors. Among these were the lack of coordination among Russian military units, communication issues, and high casualties among Russian officers. These issues, coupled with fierce Ukrainian resistance and tactical errors, stalled the invasion and altered the course of the war. Furthermore, the war brought about changes in the geopolitical landscape. For instance, it led to a shift in the relationship between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Traditionally known for their close ties, Netanyahu began showing less friendliness towards Putin, possibly due to the changing circumstances of the war. This potential shift towards supporting Ukraine could be seen as a strategic move to improve relations with the United States. In the midst of the conflict, the world also saw a significant drop in natural gas prices to levels last seen before the invasion. This was largely due to factors such as warmer weather, increased gas storage, reduced demand, and diversification of gas sources away from Russia. While this brought some relief to consumers, the region's reliance on LNG imports and potential supply disruptions continue to pose challenges for the future. These events have set the stage for the current situation, a complex and dynamic conflict with global implications. The war between Ukraine and Russia has far-reaching effects, influencing relationships between nations on a global scale. This conflict has created ripples that have moved beyond the immediate region, prompting a re-evaluation of alliances and stances across the world. Take, for instance, the evolving dynamics between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Russian President Vladimir Putin. Traditionally, Netanyahu has enjoyed a close relationship with Putin. However, the ongoing conflict has cast shadows over this camaraderie. Netanyahu, known for his diplomatic dexterity, is now showing less friendliness towards Putin, indicating a possible shift in Israel's geopolitical stance. Israel's policy has historically been one of neutrality in the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But the winds of change are blowing. The recent developments, such as Russia's involvement in Syria and Ukraine's request for military aid, have put Israel's neutral stance under the spotlight. These events have sparked debates and discussions within Israel, leading to a possible re-evaluation of their position. Moreover, Netanyahu's new coalition government, viewed with skepticism by the Biden administration, may also be a factor influencing Israel's foreign policy decisions. A potential shift towards supporting Ukraine could be a strategic move on Netanyahu's part to improve relations with the United States, a key ally. These changes are not isolated to Israel, but are indicative of a larger global trend. Nations across the world are being forced to reassess their positions, their alliances, and their roles in the face of this conflict. It's a chess game of diplomacy and strategy where every move can have significant implications. As we can see, the war is not just a regional issue, but one that affects the entire international community. The ripples of this conflict have spread far and wide, influencing the dynamics of global relations, and will likely continue to do so in the foreseeable future. Beyond the political and human toll, the war has also had economic consequences, notably on natural gas prices. A valuable commodity that fuels homes, industries, and power plants, natural gas has seen a significant price drop in Europe and the United States since the onset of the war. This shift in the market can be attributed to a medley of factors. The first factor we can consider is the weather. As temperatures rise, the demand for heating decreases, contributing to a drop in natural gas prices. Secondly, there has been an increase in gas storage. With reserves being filled, the immediate demand for gas is reduced, again leading to a decrease in prices. The third factor is a simple case of supply and demand. As the war continues and uncertainties abound, consumers and businesses are seeking alternatives to Russian gas. This diversification of gas sources away from Russia leads to reduced demand for Russian gas, contributing to the overall drop in prices. While this decrease in prices has brought some relief in terms of inflation and eased financial burdens for consumers, it's important to note that the impact on retail prices may take time to materialize due to fixed or capped pricing mechanisms in some countries. Moreover, it's worth noting that despite the recent price drop, gas prices in Europe remain significantly higher than the average over the past decade. This poses challenges for consumers and businesses alike, and the region's reliance on LNG imports and potential supply disruptions could lead to future price fluctuations. In essence, the war has significantly influenced the global natural gas market, creating a ripple effect that reaches far beyond the conflict zone. This economic impact is just one of many ways the war has affected everyday life for people around the world. The war between Ukraine and Russia is a complex issue with many layers. Let us recap what we've discussed today. We dove into the current state of the war, highlighting the disorganization and tactical errors in Russia's assault due to a lack of a clear field commander and the resilient fight put up by Ukraine. We traced the timeline of major events, casting light on how this conflict has taken shape over time. We discussed the impact this conflict has on global relations, noting a possible shift in Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's stance towards Russia, potentially swaying towards supporting Ukraine. This could be a strategic move to enhance relations with the United States, given the new coalition government's skeptical view from the Biden administration. Additionally, we delved into the economic implications of the war. We touched on the significant drop in natural gas prices in Europe and the United States to levels last seen before Russia's invasion of Ukraine. This decrease has helped lower inflation and ease financial burdens for consumers, but challenges remain, with potential future price fluctuations due to Europe's reliance on LNG imports. As the situation continues to evolve, we must stay informed and aware. Thank you for joining us today as we explored the current state of the war between Ukraine and Russia.